Hello, welcome to lesson number 4 about probability. I'm glad you could join me. Today, we're simply talking about, we're going to have a quick review, and then we're going to talk about simple events and their complements. So a complement is an opposite event. Finally, we'll end with some examples, and then you can begin your IXL assignment, which will be DD214. So here's a quick review of what we've been talking about. And this is a tree diagram. This is actually a star question from last year in 2019. So I wanted to share it with you. Jack tossed a coin 3 different times. And so we're going to figure out which tree diagram shows all of the possible outcomes for Jack. So I'd like you to put a pause in the video and then decide which one of these options is the correct choice. All right, guys, I hope that you chose H. H is the correct answer because in the first event, flipping the coin the first time, we would say that there's heads or tails. And then in the second event, the second coin flip, we would have heads or tails. And so then you can see in the second tier, heads and tails. And then the third event, which is the third flipping of the coin, you would have heads or tails in your third tier. Okay? So I hope you got that correct. And let's move on now to our new information, which is we're learning about complements today, or the opposite of an event. So the probability of an event not occurring is called a complement. The probability of an event and its complement actually have a sum of 1. So this is how we notate the probability of a complement. So we write it with a capital P, and then in parentheses we'll say not something. And then that becomes our numerator. So that thing that we are looking for, all of the outcomes of it, we're going to put that in the numerator, and all of the total possible outcomes in the event will be our denominator. So it sounds a little confusing right now, but when we work through these next examples, I bet we'll clear up any of that fuzz. All right, so example number 1. I'm going to grab a pen right now, so if you'll just bear with me for a second. Okay, so here we go. We roll a die, and the question asks, what is the probability of it not being odd? So we have to ask ourselves, what is even? Okay, so we know that because we're rolling a 6-sided die that the possible outcomes for that event is actually 6. So we know that our denominator is going to be a 6. Then we have to think about what is not odd, and that is all of the even possibilities. So that's 2, 4, and 6. There's 3 choices there, favorable outcomes for that. So 3/6 is our answer. Of course, when we reduce that, it becomes 1/2. The question asks us to put that in a percentage, and we know that 1/2 converts to 0.5, and then when we multiply 0.5 by 100, that would be 50%. All right, stand by for the next example. Okay, example number 2 has a spinner, and the question asks, what is the probability of it not being 4? So much like yesterday, we're going to write up a fraction, and the denominator is going to be all of our total possible outcomes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 goes in the denominator. And then in the numerator, we're going to put everything that's not 4. So 1, 2, and 3 are not 4. And I'm going to put those favorable outcomes, 3 different choices here, and in the numerator. So I've got 3/4, which of course converts to this percentage. And this would be our answer. Okay, example number 3 actually has some cards from which to choose. And the question states, what is the probability of this not less than 5? So much like our other questions, I always start out with the denominator because that seems to me like the easiest place to start. So I'm just going to count that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 options. So I know that 4 is going in my denominator. And to be honest, right away, I'm kind of looking over at this option because it's the only one with a 4 as its denominator. But let's also look at how we're going to calculate the numerator. It says, what's the probability of the favorable outcome not being less than 5? So 4 is less than 5. Is 5 less than 5? No, 5 is 5. And 6 is greater and 7 is greater. So there are 3 things that are not less than 5 in these options. So my answer is 3/4. All right, guys, this is our final example of the lesson, and it asks, what is the complement of spinning a vowel? So I'm going to look at this spinner, and I can see it has a lot of choices, and I know I'm going to notate this. This is the probability of not a vowel. Oh, goodness. And I'm obviously awkward at this, so I'm going to put not a vowel, and I'm just going to put a little V here. Okay, so I know that right away I can just start with the denominator. I can count all of these choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is my denominator. Those are all of the total possible outcomes. And then it asks for the complement of a vowel. So that means something that's not a vowel. So we're going to count all of the consonants on this spinner. Okay, so that would be F, H, D, W, and H. So there were 5 things that were not a vowel. So the complement of spinning a vowel was 5/7. Okay. All right, guys. Now I think you're ready to tackle DD2. Let me know if you have any questions. You can email me or you can chat with me in Google Classroom. As always, let's do some math.